Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogues Gallery. We'll talk comics for the week, as well as whatever news is on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick.
This is Dave.
And now, on with the show. All right, we're back for another episode. We skipped last week.
Yep.
I was out of town.
Is this our singing episode, or is that later?
No, this is episode 499, Nick. 499.
Okay, so I was one off.
Next week will be entirely sung,
or I practiced
possibly
so much.
exactly like the previous 499 episodes.
Nope, there will be, it's going to be, like Hamilton, it will be
like sung through.
A musical rap.
Yeah.
But all about comic books and games.
I can't do rap. I'm sorry. I suck.
You can be our who's it? King George.
Yeah,
you can do the King George traditional musical. So
okay,
you say
I'll join in on
my loves. No, it's fun.
All right,
it's a good musical.
It's a great musical.
Yeah,
it's coming to Austin. I wish I could see it.
Oh man,
I'm going to see it. I'm finally.
Shut up.
I did the Broadway in Austin,
and then I killed Randy. Took his tickets.
I did the Broadway in Austin thing for this specifically.
Yeah, that's fair. It's been building up to this.
Mostly, I think I wouldn't recommend the Broadway in Austin unless you're like a diehard Broadway fan. I've skipped two of them.
Yeah,
like just other stuff's come up, and I think
you didn't want to go see Funny Girl.
I did, but I wanted to go see Board Games more.
But I thought that you liked the ones you've seen.
I have. I liked Peter Pan.
I ended up wanting to see Clue, but that was...
I thought Clue was solid, but like,
I actually really liked Clue. I had a very good time.
I did too, but I again, the price and the scheduling of it all, I'm like, I'm not sure it's quite for me. But I am glad to get to see Hamilton.
I will say this, I don't like going out. I definitely don't like putting on anything nicer than a t-shirt, but you have to for these kind of things. Even though it's Austin, I don't want to be that guy.
Yep.
I still like the crowds.
But, I don't mind the crowds, particularly.
Parking sucks.
But what I was going to say is, once you're kind of there is the experience of going to something like that, like a big show, is pretty cool.
It is.
It is like in your face in a way only like an IMAX or something like that would be otherwise. And I guess I've inadvertently seen two. So I saw Clue and I saw Les Mis. Yeah.
You've been to as many shows as I have almost.
Yes.
I went to one more.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be pressured by my sister to do that. But anyway, but we are back, and and we've got some good comics to report on. Y'all have been watching some movies and shows and things like that. Randy's played some games. He what's it called? What was that?
Dice Tower West.
Dice Tower West. Yep.
So I'll have a report on some games, stuff like that. And speaking of games, we got a lot of games while I was gone.
It's true.
Which doesn't surprise me. Every time one of us leaves, something crazy happens.
Yeah.
Well,
the printer also died.
The printer also died.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it doesn't mean... There were two game conventions. Dice Tower West, and there was also Gamma, right? So they released a bunch of stuff.
Now, Gamma is a retailer event. It's not actually a convention.
Oh, it's not a convention?
No.
Okay. I misunderstood.
But sometimes they may be targeting to get stuff out in time for that. And also, sometimes just... Dice Tower West isn't a big, game show. They weren't like Gen Con where they release stuff around the timing. It just happened to have hit, I think.
Okay.
But... We got Star Wars Unlimited Jump to Lightspeed, which is the fourth set.
Yes, it's the fourth set.
I don't know what the theme of this is. It seems like I saw Han Solo and Boba Fett. Is it more like scoundrels type thing, maybe?
Maybe. I couldn't tell you the theme. But I would imagine that's true because this is the first time they've done the Carbonite boosters. Which could fit into the...
they're like the collector boosters.
Yeah, they're collector boosters.
People like collector boosters.
They do. And this also, like you said, they have the Spotlight decks, which one is Boba Fett and one is Han. Boosters, and I think we still have some pre-release.
And some few pre-release packs,
yeah.
So I was looking it up to try and find out what its deal is. Here's what they say on their website. Talking about the previous sets, they say all three of the first year's sets had a heavy focus on ground battles with far more ground units than space ones.
Okay.
The first set of the second year, that's this one, flips that formula on its head with a heavy emphasis on iconic starfighters, transports, and capital ships from across multiple eras of the Star Wars galaxy. So there's so much of a focus on space that this set introduces a brand new keyword to the fray: piloting. So it's big space combat.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
All right, that's kind of cool.
Big ships and little ships.
Oh, little ships.
Little ships. That's by the way, that's when you pair together fictional characters that are like little Muppets and things like that. Little ships.
Yeah. Good. We also got a new Lorcana.
Yep.
Arcasia's Island.
Yep.
What Arcasia is. Some weird Disney
Don't you remember
sorcerer.
Johnny Arcasia from Monsters, Inc. 10?
I definitely don't.
This, I think the precons include a...
There's a Belle and the Beast.
Belle and the Beast, and there's an Iago and Jafar.
Iago and Jafar. Yeah, I saw that.
And I saw
good.
like characters like Bolt.
Oh, wow. Bolt, that's
used.
a deep cut.
Yeah, Bolt was a good movie.
It was a good movie. I forgot it was Disney. I was thinking like a DreamWorks thing.
It kind of has that feel, but no,
Yeah.
it was ultimately a Disney one. I don't. People are coming in for it, so
Yep.
people still love Disney.
Yep. Then we got the
Aristocats really in it?
Probably.
Oh,
Saw
wow,
that mentioned
really?
In there, yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
The Union Arena, which is a CCG that has been doing a lot of different
Anime properties.
Yeah.
So they have One Piece. That's their big one, right?
But also Demon Slayer and One Punch Man.
One Punch Man just came out this week. That was the new one. We looked up. They're not compatible entirely. They're like sort of compatible.
Right. It's actually just like, I think that's within a given genre. So you can't have One Punch Man fight the One Piece.
That's too bad.
Which is not a person.
Nope.
No, there is a One Piece.
There is a
right?
One
There
Piece
is a
thing.
One Piece thing, but it's not a person.
Yeah.
That's why the One Piece live action show got off on such a good good foot with me, because they immediately explained what the One Piece was.
It's revealed
It's true.
in book 450 that
Right.
that One Piece is a sentient person.
Johnny One Piece.
Johnny One
One
Piece.
Piece.
Versus Johnny Arcasia, round one, fight.
We got a game which we're actually already out of. We're just waiting on a restock, but it's called Cinemantics.
Uh-huh.
You draft a collection of cards with common movie tropes and twist the words on the cards to fit the scene. It says your movie trivia knowledge, situational awareness, and creative wordplay will carry you to victory in this show-stopping game of film and frivolity. I feel like this is one where you play like while you're watching the movie or something.
Oh, weird.
It looks like an interesting party game.
Okay. This is for your film.
Theoretically,
fans.
that does interest me.
Yeah, I'm curious about
I
it.
want to watch a video on it.
Marvel Champions made a big return. The card game that has been very popular has been kind of hard to find lately.
Yep.
With the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box set.
Yep.
This has like adventure villains as well as 2 decks for maybe it's not Coulson and Maria Hill, is it? I don't remember who it is.
I didn't
it's
look
a couple
who it
S.H.I.E.L.D.
was.
agents.
Yeah.
Big ones like God. It's not Maria Hill. Who's the other like female S.H.I.E.L.D. agent? Maybe it is Maria Hill.
Well, we have newfangled
Does it
technology.
have
we
like
can look.
Howling Commandos peoples?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, just the higher echelon shield people.
Yeah. Let's see. I gotta look this up now because I'm curious.
Well, yeah.
Well, I'm not finding it. Anyway, Marvel Champions Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box set. They haven't done these in a while. This is the return.
Maria Hill and Nick Fury.
It is okay, Maria. Oh, and the villains are Yelena Belova, Batroc, and MODOK.
Yep.
When you slightly stumbled over Batroc, I thought you were saying it was Burt Bacharach.
Burt Bacharach. Burt Batroc.
Everybody loves Burt Bacharach, the Marvel villain.
We got Final Girl Series 3. These are new boxes for the super popular solo game.
Yep.
I was looking at them. They're called The Killer from Tomorrow, Hell to Pay, The Falconwood Files, The Merrick Murders, and Don't Make a Sound. And they correspond, from what I can tell, to Terminator, Hellraiser, Jigsaw, a.k.a. What's the movie? What is
Saw.
it? Saw. And the monsters from, not Hush.
Quiet Place?
Quiet Place.
Yeah.
And Falconwood Files, I can't quite get a beat on this one.
Not like X-Files?
You're in the small town of Falconwood. Government experiments and supernatural occurrences are happening. You and your friends begin recording the events in the Falconwood Files, a collective journal your group is keeping.
Sounds. At first, it sounded like a little Stranger Things-ish.
Yeah.
Small
Or
town
maybe.
government stuff.
But a little X-Files.
Oh, you know what? How do you stop a monstrosity from a parallel mirror dimension? That sounds very strange.
That's
Yeah,
Stranger
that's
Things,
Stranger
yeah.
Okay, that's what
it's
it is, yeah.
the hook that you're actively investigating in and not just rando kids
Yeah,
is a little
yeah.
different, but that's what
That's
it
what
is.
it is. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, these all look pretty fun. I have not played Final Girl because I don't play a lot of solo games, but people
has
love
been
that game.
It's been a breakout. Well, by the way, what is the name of the agency or the evil agency in Stranger Things?
Oh, man.
It's strange.com.
It's like Ravenwood. It's
I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've watched Stranger Things.
Yeah, well,
But we're
that's
getting
because
a
the
new
last
season.
episode was 30 years ago.
Yeah, Millie Bobby Brown was a teenager, and now, of course, she is a 50-year-old woman.
Yes, that's right. Chain smoking Millie Bobby Brown.
Yep, and Finn Wolfhard is, of course, 90
That's right.
now.
That's right.
So,
He was found with Gene Hackman.
oh no, Dave, no.
Dave!
That's messed up.
All right, moving on. The Star Trek Adventures gets a new starter set. The RPG gets a new starter set.
You know, they did a pretty good job on the first edition one that they did of that and tied it into a neat bit of lore from Star Trek Next Generation. I don't know what the adventure is in this, but I am curious about it.
Yeah.
And they had some neat game mechanics. The one thing that I remember about it, and I suspect is still in the mechanics, is that, you know, it's kind of like you have like 6 sort of abilities, not unlike a D&D type thing.
Yep.
But when you roll, like any given roll draws on 2 different disciplines or whatever, and you can choose the one you're best in. So you actually cool. Get some options there, and that kind of fits Star Trek's best of the best type people.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Remind me to tell you, Dave. The flight, the Delta had some kind of deal with Paramount Plus, so you got like free was on the thing.
Yep.
So I watched the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Discovery because it was free while I was playing games on my iPad.
Oh, interesting.
And I have some thoughts about Star Trek Discovery. Going back to the very beginning.
Sure.
Talk about that off mic.
Yep.
We got Joyride Duel Next Gen, which is the 2-player version of a game I have not played, but it is a post-apocalyptic cars with guns type thing. I've heard it compared to Thunder Road. I've heard it's really good. The main game is unfortunately out of print, but the 2-player duel version is available now.
Cool.
We got two new Pathfinder games. Pathfinder NPC Core, which is a bunch of NPCs.
Yep. They're always so good with their lore and stuff.
Such a good idea.
Great artwork. Yeah.
And then something called Rival Academies, which I assume is their Harry Potter thing.
I think so. Looking at it, it seemed like it had maybe slightly broader diversity than Harry Potter traditionally has. Like, well, I guess they always made out that there were other academies in there, but yeah, I saw one that was like their sort of Eastern Academy. You know, that would be like almost like a Rokugan type thing. And flipping through it, I was like, cool art on all the students and cool weird ideas in here. Like, it looked like they really ran with it. And made up some great new concepts.
Nice. And then we got the Witcher Unmatched. We were waiting on that for a while. We had to go direct to the company to get it.
Yep.
There are 2 of them. There's one that has like Geralt and the lady, whatever her name is. Yennefer. And the Bard.
And Johnny Bardman.
And then there's the other one that has 3 other characters I don't remember.
Yeah.
Probably Ciri and a couple of...
I don't know who all the Witcher characters are. Yeah. Anyway, Unmatched is a fun game. It's a card-based
Dark
battler.
Witcher and Witcher Supreme.
Yes, Witcher Supreme.
He's not a Taco Bell menu item.
Isn't he?
We got a few more party games. Something called Horrible Therapist from the Oatmeal.
Okay.
Where I don't know what it is, but it's a...
I kind of like the premise. I assume I'm going to guess that this involves in some way giving bad advice as a therapist or something.
Yeah. A game called Why Are You Like This?
Okay.
Game called Sausages the Card Game.
Part of our recent spate of food-based
games. There's been several.
Pies and I forget what the others were.
Speaking of, we got Zombie Burrito, which is the burrito...
It's the undead version of the Throw Burrito.
Throw Burrito, yes. Yeah. One burrito is a zombie, the other one is not a zombie.
It's also the least likely order that I make at Freebirds.
Zomburrito?
Zomburrito.
Then we got the Survive the Island Monster Pack. Survive the Island is I think a co-op game where you're trying to escape an island that has a volcano or something. This adds monsters.
Nice.
And then finally we got the new Heroclix set, the Spider-Verse Heroclix, which that makes sense to do Spider-Verse.
Yeah. There are plenty of options to choose from in there. I didn't see who all they included in there. I remember you saying that there was, Ezekiel or Morlun or one of those dudes? Yeah, one of the kind of heavy hitters.
Yeah.
I think one of the chases is like Spider Thor.
Nice.
That's pretty good. And then of course we have the bonus. We still currently have the bonus ones that you can use.
The Web Warriors and the Spidey Rex.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's talk about comics for the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
It's actually we're kind of 2 smaller weeks, all things considered.
Yeah, a little bit.
For instance, last week was a mega week of graphic novels.
Yep.
And that just was the lion's share of space on our wall.
Yep.
But there was still some cool stuff in it. And we got a few highlight reels from last week.
And so these 2 weeks combined to make one good week.
Yes. By their powers combined.
So we want to talk about the thing that was a pick for you guys last week, and probably would have been mine too. I just left town right after. Doctor Strange of Asgard, the new Doctor Strange, now that he is not Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. I didn't quite know what to expect from this one. Who's the writer on this one? Because
this is Derek Landy. They're that team that does the Landy and somebody else. They do a lot of books.
It didn't pop for me, so I was kind of like, but I gave it a shot. I really dug its vibe. It's kind of man on the street of Asgard.
Yeah. So the basic premise is Strange is looking for mystical power.
Yep.
He goes to his buddy Thor and is like, hey, Asgard hasn't had Sorcerer Supreme. What if I became the Sorcerer Supreme of Asgard?
And Thor is like, such a novel idea. I like this.
I like it. And so
what does he send him to go talk to their current, like, sort of reigning magic user?
They have a name for it,
They don't have a Sorcerer
too.
Supreme, but...
Yeah.
And by the way...
Skald. They have a Skald.
Right. And basically, even though, Doctor Strange is not exactly an everyman, but in Asgard he doesn't have any renown or anything like that, so he kind of is meeting people. He's like going to stay at an inn and stuff like that, and it is actually just very fun to see all the people he meets. Although there's a little bit of, snappiness to the dialogue, it's actually, I don't know, it seemed really cool. It didn't seem like too cheesy, jokey.
It was kind of he's walking down a street, and anybody he meets, there's an interesting interaction.
Right.
There's two people,
brawling
beating
going
up
on.
a person, and because he's a hero, he wants to help.
Yeah.
But there's things going on that he doesn't know, and he gets to find out just how strong an average Asgardian is.
Yeah, I love that bit. I love that. And the art's really cool in it, too. It's this very detailed art, and it makes you feel like, you step through this Doctor Strange portal and you go into Asgard and you're outside like an inn and the snow is just blowing everywhere, and you kind of really feel like you're in Asgard. So yes, weirdly, this Doctor Strange comic is the best Asgard-based comic I've read in a long time.
It's really good. I really enjoyed it.
And by the end of it, there's a twist. There's characters that are involved that you would expect to be involved. And we're off to the races.
Yeah,
it was a fun first issue. I really dug it.
Yeah. Last week, another surprise. Star Wars Jedi Knights. I think none of us have been super into the Star Wars stuff Marvel's doing. Every so often they hit with something that we like.
And honestly, I don't think any of us would have said that an adventure that involves most of the Jedi Knights on the council and stuff like that, it's set in roughly Phantom Menace era.
I mean, I'm not a big Jedi fan. I'm definitely not a big Clone Wars era fan of Jedi. I'm on record as saying we need less Jedi in my Star Wars stories.
And yet,
this story of basically the Jedi's going to war to solve space Palestine. Works way better than you would think such a premise works.
The way I understand that is that each issue of this, they are presenting a bigger story, a bigger picture story of how they are trying to settle this complicated, basically a complicated war.
Yep.
And each issue will focus mainly on a pairing of Jedi, but will also kind of involve all the others.
Yeah.
And it seems like it'd be just way too busy, but there was a bunch of interesting scenes.
It really works.
I just thought that all the scenes were that was kind of cool.
Well, it utilizes known Jedi, but it also throws in some brand new ones that are created for this comic.
So, just Yoda is there.
Yeah.
Was it
Qui-Gon Jinn is there.
Qui-Gon.
Shakti.
Yeah.
Yep, and some other new ones. And actually, the interesting thing is the newer ones, or some of their apprentices and stuff like that, are written in such a way that I felt like they'd been around.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like they were just hastily thrown in there.
Yeah,
I was kind of like, oh, this guy's obviously been around. This seems interesting. And they all seem kind of cool.
But like Dave was saying, the pairings are interesting. The trappings around... They're involved in interesting things throughout this bigger story.
Yeah, and I think there's a few interesting twists and turns just in this first issue to make me want to read more. I feel like they didn't just do a setup that made me think, well, hopefully it'll get somewhere good. It got good pretty quick.
There's an ongoing question I'm curious about seeing how that goes on, too.
I'll also say it does the thing that I wish, live-action Jedis did, is show them being badasses.
Yeah.
And it showed them being badasses.
Give them their moments. Give them their moments.
Yep. Agreed. On the other end of things, also Disney-related, we've got What If Mickey and his friend became Avengers? So you got Mickey as Iron Man, Minnie as Wasp, Pluto as Ant-Man. That's weird.
It's a little odd.
Donald Duck as Thor, and Goofy as Hulk. I feel like they made some weird choices as to who became what.
We felt like Donald Duck should be Hulk.
Donald should be Hulk.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Pluto... I understand that Ant-Man and Wasp aren't probably together in this comic, but I don't think Minnie, Mickey's girlfriend, and Pluto, his dog, should be in a romantic relationship. Call me old-fashioned.
Listen, I don't know that they depict the romantic relationship in this. Things are different, Randy. It's an alternate world.
Also, Thor is... Loki is
you frown upon mouse and dog relations. I understand.
I do. Also, apparently, Loki is also a Donald Duck. somehow.
Is he Scrooge?
He is maybe Scrooge? I don't know.
I thought that if Goofy had been Thor, that he would have had to do fun Thor dog. He'd be like, "Who art thou?"
That makes
stuff.
They should have swapped those. That makes more sense.
Yeah. Now, that said, I haven't read this. Maybe it's great.
It's possible.
They've all been selling well. They've all been entertaining.
It's they're goofy. What's kind of funny about this is like they're not in continuity with each other. They're all just standalone one-shots.
Right. Just a what if this crazy shit happened?
Because the next one is what if Donald Duck became Iron Man, and there already is an Iron Man. It's Mickey. But I'm kind of surprised they're not doing more long-form story, like building
like their own bit of
universe.
lore, like.
Yeah, but
like Kingdom Hearts has its own weird lore.
But I believe, and I could be wrong, that mostly they're making these for Disney parks to sell to people at Disney parks.
That makes some sense.
They're like, we know if we don't offer them retailers will get mad, and they're right. So if you're a super big Disney fan or a super big Marvel fan, it's a fun. There are people for whom this is the audience. I don't think anybody in this room is in this audience. No. But I'm sure it's well done.
I like Marvel. I like Disney.
I like Marvel. I like Disney.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need them smushed together like peanut butter.
I don't necessarily need them smushed together.
No, not necessarily. DC launches a new Secret Six, but it's not Gail Simone's Secret Six.
But it has elements of Gail Simone's
Secret
sort of.
I believe the idea is that this team is half good guys, half bad guys that they're forced to recruit for whatever's going on.
Well, it's funny because it's coming out of the Absolute Power stuff.
Right.
Where
it has stuff to do with Waller.
Where Waller made Dreamer. Like she made her work for the Suicide Squad. And also John Kent, who the writer Nicole Maines, that was her first thing she wrote.
Yep.
She co-wrote that with Tom Taylor. So she brings him in, and so it's like Superboy and his boyfriend, or Superman actually, or is he Superboy now? I
think he's Superboy.
Yeah, I believe they're going to start calling him. What is it? Super Son or whatever, which is kind of weird. But right now that's not happening yet.
Anyway.
But then they bring in the Catman and
Deadshot,
Deadshot, and somebody else.
Yeah. Black Alice from Gail Simone's Birds of Prey run.
Yep.
Yeah, it's weird. Also, I thought Deadshot was dead. Is he alive now?
I didn't know he was dead.
I thought he was dead.
I'm glad he's not dead. Deadshot's a good character.
I thought he got killed off in Tom Taylor's run.
Oh.
I think
that was a fake out.
I don't know. Well, apparently
I think it might have been a fake out.
Anyway, he's not dead.
Yay!
Anyway.
We're all Floyd Lawton fans.
Yeah, we are.
Give it up for the Lawton.
Then there's Mothra, Queen of Monsters. This is written by Sophie Campbell.
Yep.
Who did a lot of the TMNT stuff we liked.
Yep. And before that kind of came from indie comic realm.
Art by Austin Boy, Matt Frank.
Yep.
Y'all, I didn't get a chance to do more than flip through this. Y'all read it, I'm sure. You know more than I do.
It is a fun story about these two twin girls who survive. At first it seems like one of them hasn't. A devastating kaiju fight where Mothra gets killed. Right. Actually, real short comic. And then it cuts to years later, and I don't know. It's kind of like the world's gone to shit, and without
Mothra,
it's a giant ant creature called Antra or something like that. And I don't know if that's from the movies or if that's original, but it's probably from the movies.
I think Antra is like a sex thing. I think it's when you
Antra Sutra.
Antra Sutra.
Anyway. Years pass, and this one sister kind of grows up to be a survivor, only to find out that her sister is still alive and has been sort of apprenticing using magic stuff, telepathy, magic, whatever it is that they do with those little fairies who control Mothra.
Yep.
For anybody who knows Mothra lore, two little tiny fairies are related to the lore.
Usually, summon her, I believe.
Yep. And I don't know quite how it all works, but here it had a kind of a cool vibe, and she finds out her sister is alive, which is not... She's kind of like, hey, how come you didn't call me? And stuff like that, and she's a little upset about this. But she's also a badass.
Yeah.
And then her sister is like, there's something that the fairies need us to do to sort of help Mothra and stop this horrible timeline.
Let's go on a time...
we have to go back in time.
Yeah, we have to go back in time.
Yeah, and it's a pretty fun first issue.
It is.
But I would say kaiju are weird, having a little Mothra fan. But I read superhero comics. This is no weirder than...
Yeah, you know that if we
else.
Start telling somebody the average plot to a Secret Wars or something like that, they'd be like, what the f... and I'm a Mothra fan. I think Mothra needs more screen time.
what are Mothra fans called?
Mothrans. Yeah. Mothaholics. Mothheads.
No, moth heads are more Mothra.
Yeah, that's what Moth. He's right. That's what
Moth Daddies and Moth Mommas.
Yep,
That's it. That's it. We found it. All right. We also got this week. I'm just mixing up this week and last week.
Sure.
So, we got Assorted Crisis Events from Image. This is by Denise.
That is an actual title.
Yeah.
Assorted Crisis Events is the name of the comic.
This is by Denise Camp, who's been writing Ultimates.
And it's not like it's not a DC comic. It's
about to write the Absolute Martian Manhunter.
Right.
That's right. Did either of y'all read this?
I did.
It's very strange.
It's very strange. It is a world I would want no part of.
Yeah. Basically, there's all kinds of apocalypses happening in the world.
There are weird events randomly occurring at random intervals across the world.
Everything from blinding sun to water crisis to ninja motorcycle societies. And that made enough sense to me. And this is all focused on this one woman who is trying to make her way through this post-apocalyptic
Who lives in an apartment building that the apartment building exterior changes so much they use it for movie sets.
This felt like a hat on a hat to me.
Yeah.
You had this concept of apocalypses are happening every day, and you don't know what's going to happen. And also, there are people out there making movies using the apocalypse backdrop so they can make post-apocalyptic movies. So there's a whole thing of what's real and what's films.
Yeah.
She runs into some dude dressed as a Nazi who's crying behind a porta potty because it looks like fascism. She says she wakes up in a fascist nightmare. We've all been there. There's some dude crying his eyes out, and he's like, I'm Jewish, and my grandmother, so he's like, but you play the part, and he's like, so he's like an actor playing a Nazi.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait, is there a fascist takeover, or are they somebody making a movie of a Nazi?
She's waking up to different things in front of her
apartment. Okay.
Her apartment. But they're utilizing strange things that are occurring. Things are happening. Typically the things happening outside her window are made up.
I felt like it was a little extra level of confusion that wasn't needed.
It was. It took me a minute to kind of dissect what was going.
Interesting about I guess I don't know what thesis of this there is.
Yeah.
But the idea of being of sort of a weird melding of the terrors of reality with how we entertain and distract ourselves.
Yeah.
There's something in there.
Yeah.
We'll see if they can pull it off.
I found it a little confusing as a first issue, but I really like the ideas, and I thought the art by Eric Zawodzki is gorgeous.
I've only flipped through it, but I'll say this: that art looked real good.
It is really nice.
I thought it was a complex story, a little hard to discern, like you were saying.
It's maybe a little complicated, but it's in.
I found it to be very engaging.
No one's done a comic I can say this, no one's done a pitch like this. It's kind of it feels like a Kieran Gillen book, which are always a little hat in a hat too.
Yep.
He likes to do that kind of thing. But I enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you like the sort of weirder stuff. If you like Jonathan Hickman stuff, if you like Kieran Gillen stuff,
I agree.
I think this will be Assorted Crisis Events will be up your alley.
Yep, I agree.
We are, I believe, 4 chapters into X-Manhunt this week. No, 5. We're 5. That started last week.
Which is a hunt for Xavier, but it's got some other twists and turns in it.
Xavier has broken free of
Grey Malkin.
Grey Malkin. He's got a psychic distress call from his daughter Xandra from the Shire Empire. Which that's a new
forgotten
thing.
that was a thing.
Created in that Rogue Gambit miniseries.
Oh, is that where that came from?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But anyway, this is X-Men 13 this week.
Yep.
This is the X-Men, my main X-Men book.
Yep.
So I'm not going to read all of X-Manhunt, but I read this one chapter of it, and it's pretty good.
It's really good. I mean, we all like X-Men.
Yeah,
but I would say
Jed McKay. There's a major battle against a sort of possessed Storm.
Yeah.
And Storm is at godlike Omega mutant power levels.
Yep.
Which, by the way, there's some interesting stuff in there about Omega mutants in a flashback with Quentin Quire.
There is, yes.
Who is surprisingly well handled in this issue for a little punk kid.
Quentin Quire, favorite X-Men now.
Nope.
Yep. No, that's right. My new fave.
I can't wait for the Deadpool Quentin Quire book to come out.
Hey, I will take Quentin Quire over Xavier at this point.
That's what they want you to think, Nick. That's what they want it to be.
They've ruined Xavier. They should fix him. But what I want to say is, we didn't talk about it because it was last week, but all of X-Manhunt, we haven't mentioned.
The first 3 chapters.
Yeah.
So we are out of the Uncanny X-Men, which is chapter 1, but it should be coming back in next week. But we have NYX, we have Storm. This week is X-Men and X Factor.
Yep.
And I think it's worth noting, if you fell off the X-Men books and you want to check back in, it's a good way to check back in. You'll get one chapter of each book.
It's not like a super long story.
Yeah, and it seems fairly... I mean, each one is kind of contained within its thing. It's like Xavier drops in, causes some chaos, drops back out.
There's still great character moments.
Yeah, we were talking about how Magic in particular is like, this is the best version of Magic I've ever read.
Sure.
The Magic Kane Marco bromance continues.
She and Juggernaut as kind of like, almost like metalhead bros.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah.
Is real fun. She's using both her mystic powers and her teleportation powers really well in this, but it's also just her personality coming through in it.
And also, to jump the gun a little bit, if you've been wanting to check out X-Men, the first trade paperback that collects, 1 through 6?
That is, I believe 1 through 6 is
Jed McKay's run.
This is the best X book going right now.
Yeah, for me...
1 through 7.
For me, it's the best X-Men book that maybe in like the last decade, I would say.
Sure.
McKay is writing a hell of a team, utilizing some characters I didn't quite know that I would like as much as I do. And
they're the Alaska-based team that they took over, like, a factory that had made, like, a Sentinel factory or something?
Sentinel factory.
Yep.
And they
dealing with the climate around them, not the temperature,
locals
but the locals.
The locals are not wild about it, and the government is not wild about them.
Yep.
And Cyclops is not he's done taking shit.
He is.
And his particular method of not taking shit in this is really very watchable.
Yep.
But also the rest of the team is super fun, and again, Magic and is a real highlight in this group.
Yeah. Then we've got reprints. Lots of reprints. So as of last week and this week, we've got Aliens vs. Avengers number 1 through 3. We have all 3 issues of that in stock. We got Absolute Batman number 4 in stock this week, which means we have Absolute Batman number 4, because I believe we have 1 issue of 2 and 1 issue of 5 on the back issue wall. They cannot keep these in print.
Nope.
No.
Batman is definitely the hit.
I'm sure they'll
All
reprint more of them.
But Batman is
If you're looking for a certain one, let us know, and we will text you and hold a copy when it comes in, if we can.
I'm sure they'll do another round of printings.
And if you would like Transformers.
And Transformers. I don't remember which all we got. We've got, like, it's like 1, 2, 3, 8, and then like 11 through 14. They reprint a ton of it, and they've all got new cool covers.
They do.
Yep.
We've had enough requests for the single issues, even though the trades are both out, that we went and got these single issues. So if you want some issues of Transformers, we've got a ton of them this week.
Was it Carly and RC cover?
Yeah,
that
which
is
really
badass.
good. Yep. We also got the long-awaited TMNT Naruto number 1 reprint.
Yep.
Which means we have issues 1 and 2 of that in stock.
We've been looking for that forever.
Yep. And then we got trades. We've got... you know what? Before we get to that, we didn't talk about everything, the other single issues this week.
I was going to say,
we haven't talked about All New Venom number 4. I can't believe All New Venom is a manager favorite.
Yep.
But it is.
It's been interesting. Next issue we know is kind of all the cards on the table reveal.
The story of who is Venom.
Yeah, as a reminder, we don't know who Venom is, but there's like 4 candidates. There's definitely going to be some twists.
And there's a big reveal at the end of this one.
We just don't know exactly what it means.
We don't know what it means.
But there is something big that happens.
There is.
And Madame Mask gets to be a badass.
Madame Mask is really cool in this.
And there is a guest villain that I loved.
Yep.
They actually utilize him well.
And he's on the cover.
I agree.
I know, but I mean...
All right.
It's MODOK. No, he's right. He's on the
Men's
cover.
organism designed only for killing.
The secret, the secret of what makes him cool in this issue is that we didn't reveal that.
No, that was awesome.
And also, this is the Madame Mask that I've been needing. As it turns out, I didn't know. I don't have any particular fondness for this old school Iron Man villain.
There are a couple of lines where she's like contemplating who's going to get there first.
Right, she's causing a ruckus, and she's like, I wonder if Iron Man's going to be first.
He's
my guy.
He's one of his,
like one of mine.
No, she says, I'm one of his.
That's right. That's right.
This made me want a Madame Mask Mystique team up.
Yeah.
The two of them got that vibe.
They would not get along.
And then there's also an interesting opening thing where there's some new agency that keeps all the symbiotes.
This is a great scene.
And Flash Thompson is sort of reluctantly working for them.
Is it bad that I felt bad for the symbiotes?
Yeah, they humanized the symbiote.
Yeah. Flash is in there as he's anti-venom right now.
Yeah, he's anti-venom.
But he's like kind of in a. It's almost like this lady has Amanda Waller vibes.
Yep.
And she's
she's one of the guardsmen.
Is it? Yeah. She's telling Flash like, hey, you can keep interacting with these symbiotes and stuff like that. We'll allow it, kind of this humanized thing. She's like, but we don't believe in that kind of trashy, hand-wringy stuff. And we have a mission for you that you need to do for us if you want to keep doing it. But it's another good scene, and I'm sure is setting up kind of what's going to be second story arc.
We're talking to Toxin, which I could care less about,
Yeah,
and I
but
felt bad for him.
It's very well done. Also, I noticed in the Dramatis Personae, which is introduced at the beginning, in addition to the Venom and his 4 suspects, they have Dylan Brock, which is Eddie's son.
Yep.
Mary Jane Watson and Paul Rabin, who is the much hated Paul.
They're the caretakers of Eddie Brock's son.
What I wonder is Paul going to somehow be involved with Venom?
No, Paul is there just to be a dumb foil.
You think
he literally is Dylan's
or he is
punching
Venom.
bag.
That would be hilarious.
That'd be hilarious. He's one of the Venom
kind of
somehow.
like soft-hearted man bun man.
Yeah,
was Venom.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
I think too many heads would detonate.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
for
Mary
sure.
Jane is Venom.
I mean, I'd allow it.
She's Jackpot. Sorry.
I would rather her beat Venom than
I agree. I'd rather she not be Jackpot. We also got the final issue of the first story arc of Absolute Superman, which I think we've all really dug.
Yep.
I know y'all like Wonder Woman best. I think I can't decide whether I like Wonder Woman or Superman better. But I like.
I agree. They're in the running.
Yeah.
Superman has big ideas. Like complicated,
Yes, yeah.
It's grappling with some interesting themes,
Environmental destruction, all that kind of
and
stuff.
also it's
class hierarchy.
Yep.
It's using Krypton has always touched on these, but he really Jason Aaron made it front and center.
Yep.
And
It's a good choice.
his Clark is in a place where he's feeling real anger right now.
Yeah.
There's somebody in this where he's like who caused honestly a big civilian casualty thing, kind of like a Kent State massacre type thing.
Yeah.
And he's like I think I need to stop looking for this guy because I don't know what's going to happen if I find him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It was done really well.
He's in a dark place.
Yeah.
This is also kind of we get a clear picture of what happened to Krypton.
Yep.
And while it has the same result as the traditional Krypton,
It's very
it's
dramatically
done much
arranged.
differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The actual sort of escape is not just like over and done in like a few seconds. It's
No,
kind
it's-
of an extended sequence, and
The explanation of
everything that's involved in it is interesting.
the sentient, the being, or not being, but what is Clark's
His cape.
and stuff. We get an explanation of what that truly is.
Yep.
But you also find out exactly what all measures his parents were trying to take.
Yeah.
The other measures the government was trying to take.
Yeah.
And interesting things like how like what the deal may or may not be with crypto and stuff
Crypto
like that.
gets to be a good boy.
He's a good boy. He's very good. Always a good boy.
There's another issue of Transformers out this week.
Big stuff.
Big stuff in Transformers, yeah, for sure. Literal big stuff.
Not only literal big Devastator versus Bruticus across the cityscape.
And a
big
rival
things were-
of a truly notable character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think this is one of the issues. I think Jorge Corona has finally maybe found his. I thought the storytelling was stronger on this
agreed.
one. I think he's starting to find his feet on it a little bit more,
He's a
Just in time for January Johnson.
which is good. Oh, is he?
I don't know. I'm making that joke, but
I think the thing is,
think he would.
I've really liked his stuff that he's done with Scotty Young, so I know I like his storytelling.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was taking some time for him to click with Daniel Warren Johnson's over the top style, and I feel like they really came together in this issue a little bit more.
I still enjoy Starscream attached to a hiss tank. I don't know
It's
why.
pretty good.
It's so
pretty
dumb,
good.
but it's so fun.
What else you all got?
Let's see. There's a reprint issue of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. I
Yep.
wasn't quite clear on why they reprinted this issue, but it's a good issue.
Because it wasn't the first one, right?
It's when no, it's not. It's actually the issue in which he begins to regrow after having had his body destroyed.
Oh, okay.
And there's all these sort of mystics around the world who all sense his return, and there's something notable about it. And Constantine, who he hasn't met up until this time, but has been introduced clearly. He comes to meet him, and they have their first ever meeting, in which Constantine is there. He's literally like growing out of the ground, and Abby Cable is like trying to help him out. And he's like, I've got some stuff that can help you. And he's basically being mean to Swamp Thing. He's like, you're clearly an idiot who doesn't realize the potential of your new form. But he's like, I've got some things that my list of demands. And I'm like, oh, he's always been an asshole.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's the Nick Fury versus Fang Foom. From the JMS's weird
series
team
of
ups.
one-shot team-ups books.
See also, what did he do? Rocket Raccoon and Doctor Doom and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So this one is not, but this one is set in like the 40s and imagines a sort of kind of an origin meeting.
Oh, it is set in the 40s. I didn't know that.
It is.
Okay.
Let's see. I haven't read it yet, but this issue of Action Comics is the final one from, is it John Ridley?
Yeah, John Ridley.
Which we've been talking about that little 3-part run, and I've been enjoying. Oh, for last week the Herculoids came out.
Oh yeah. I missed that one.
A lot of people have been looking forward to that, and they've been doing some good stuff with the retro cartoon properties lately.
For those who don't know, Dave, what are Herculoids?
They are the defenders of planet that are kind of like a barbarian family, and they're weird space animals that join them. Why they're called Herculoids is anyone's guess.
Dave, what are these space animals? They're dinosaurs, Dave. They're dinosaurs, except that one of them fires lasers out of his face, and one of them is a Triceratops that shoots a little energy balls out of his Triceratops horn.
I didn't watch a ton of Herculoids. But
what I remember is that this is like Alex Toth designs, right?
Yeah. They
look cool as hell.
The planet always looked cool and all that. I actually had a lot of fun reading this little article about. I found this article because I was trying to remind myself, what's the deal with the Herculoids?
Yep.
And the answer is nobody knows. But that was kind of the fun. Their planet would get invaded. Seemingly for no great reason, because it's just like a jungle world. Sometimes uninhabited. Sometimes there's a few little tribal type villages.
Maybe they had unobtainium.
I'm pretty sure that's what it. That is kind of the vibe of this comic. Is that this is a unspoiled jungle world of resources.
Yeah.
And the Trumps of the world want their mineral resources, and they have to beat them up. But it actually is. I'll say this: it's kind of interesting. They do a neat bit of lore building at the beginning where. There's the bad guy is kind of what gets the intro in this.
Okay.
And it's like, this is a fabled planet. Nobody knows quite exactly where its location is, but he manages to track down somebody who's been there, and he's trying to find out how to get there. And it actually pulls together some of the lore of the Herculoids cartoons, what little there is, like the fact that they sometimes call the planet different things on the show. He's like, this dude is like, across the galaxy it is known by many different names, and he like reels them off, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty fun.
That's a fun I'm not a huge Herculoids fan, other than the opening was cool, but that's a good way to do the thing of like making it a legendary planet. You focus on the bad guy. That's a clever way to do it.
Yep.
Who wrote this? Is this David Propose?
No, it's Nagowski.
Oh, it's
who had done
some
some of the Bone stuff.
Oh yeah, I like his stuff.
And art by Craig Russo. Actually, I think Russo's artwork is really good.
Yeah, Russo's a good artist.
I was flipping through it because I was like, aren't the little blob people Gleep and Gloop? And they are.
Gleep and
I think
Gloop.
that's right.
But I had to remind myself of some of the other characters.
They have some
Igu,
They have some big dude.
Igu is the big dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
then
the thing
there's
that looks like the
Zoc,
thing.
which is the kind of dragon-looking thing.
My favorite
The
is-
dragon has lasers.
Yeah,
My
Tundro
favorite
is the Triceratops.
Is Tundro? He's like a little 6 or 8 legged Triceratops.
He's
Yeah.
8.
He's very
8-legged.
stubby,
Yes.
and he looks adorable. And I know that his
He clumps.
I liked how they drew it.
Clumps.
Yeah, he's like clumpity clumpity clump.
Yeah.
Clump, 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 clump.
He can also, I believe, shoot little things from his horn.
He can.
I don't know why, but
Also, the dad of the family is a barbarian in a loincloth who uses a slingshot.
Yep.
Is it an energy slingshot or a regular slingshot?
I think it might just be a regular slingshot.
And
His
somehow
name is
they are
Xandor.
a threat to these intergalactic villains.
When you see some asymmetrical warfares in real life, like Vietnam and stuff like
inspiring.
that, you can be like, "This is how it happened."
Yeah.
They are the Herculoids of the world.
This is how we'll defeat the fascists.
That's right.
With our
Ewoks
slingshots and our loincloths.
The Ewoks show
and
us.
Igu.
And Igu.
I want to give a quick shout out. The new Green Lantern Corps comic. It's not great, but I'm kind of liking it.
Okay, all right.
Each issue, this has been fun. They're dealing with it's like Thanagar got destroyed in some intergalactic warring, and they are kind of invading like the core, which is like, it's Kilowog and Guy.
The Guardians are gone, and they have their own
they're kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And so this is like an infiltrating a big Red Lantern ship to figure out what's going on. And,
Sure.
kind of like, in Star Wars when you're on the Death Star, how it's not super crowded and you can sneak around and find and do fun and cool stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dave. I've
This
never
is-
been on the Death Star.
This is them doing that stuff. And there's some pretty interesting things in it, including Jon Stewart awkwardly hiding in close proximity to Hawk Girl, who it seems like they're kind of retconning in that, like Justice League Unlimited, they were an
They've
item
had a
once.
relationship.
So that when they're face to face in the locker that they hide in, it's kind of like do 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 do. But the art's really good. There's by the way, they were hiding from who's the Atrocitus's cat?
Dexter.
There's a weird ship that's powered by that floating head guy, Zilius Zox.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. It's like weird but fun. And the last thing I wanted to mention was a trade paperback, which was one of the most fundamental, foundational comics for me. And as a kid, was Suicide Squad by John Ostrander.
Yep,
I believe that was a similar one for you, Randy.
I love that book.
And DC, in the format of the DC's Finest, they've reprinted stuff from this over the years, but the DC Finest ones are their kind of like Marvel's
Epic
collections.
Yeah.
Where they reprint all the relevant issues for you.
Yep.
So the Suicide Squad was introduced in a miniseries, or crossover miniseries called Legends.
Yep.
This opens with that. Then it's got the Secret Origins special that tells you all about Amanda Waller's history.
And create a long-running private joke between you and your brother.
Yes. and then there's the great early issues of it, and man, this series opened like gangbusters.
Yep.
It has a kick-ass first issue.
Well, what's interesting is, Dave, I think you and I have really loved Suicide Squad from the outset.
Yep.
But I think usually when they do these complete openings,
Yep.
it's they don't get to the good stuff till midway through. All of this is pretty good stuff. Legends is a solid miniseries.
Right, I agree. It had some really good artwork from John Byrne.
The Secret Origins is really interesting.
Yeah, on some level, I wish it just began with issue 1 of Suicide Squad.
Sure.
But if you're including this extra stuff, this is good extra stuff.
It's good extra stuff, yeah.
And we were talking about there's lots of examples of ones where it's kind of middling.
Yeah.
But the slow lead-ins.
That said, I believe you and I would recommend people, if they get this, open to the middle, go to Suicide Squad #1, read it all the way through, and then jump back and read the rest.
Yeah, I think that honestly would work best. But there was also the East of West collection. Did we mention that?
Yes, the End Times Compendium.
So I'm not the biggest Hickman fan, but this is one of the books that put him on the map.
It is.
And
I read this one.
What would you guys call it? Like a
post-apocalyptic Western, but it's also fantasy elements, because there's a guy who's he's not looking to kill death, right? He's
aren't the embodiments of all four horsemen?
The four horsemen. He's death. He's one of the four horsemen.
Basically, he's breaking ranks.
Yes, with the four horsemen.
Four horsemen, and trying to find the woman he loves, and he ends up having a son.
Yeah.
And there's just a crazy amount of infighting and political turmoil, and it's basically Game of Thrones meets post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Would you say there's elements of, what was it, Stephen King's Gunslinger?
A little bit.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And who's the artist? It's really good art.
Nick Pitarra?
No, it's not Pitarra. It's not Darrington? No.
It's not Nick Darrington. I was looking it up. Nick Dragota.
Dragota.
Nick, you're supposed to know all Nicks.
I know. I get Nick Darrington and Nick Dragota.
You're going to get kicked out of the League of Nicks.
Nick Dragota has been given a shunning. Anyway, I think that is our...
I wanted to mention 2 single issues.
Go on, sir.
Moon is Following Us, #7 hits. That's continuing to be a really good series. And Void Rivals #17 hits.
Oh, yeah.
This actually finally explains the secret history of the planet for the 2 factions of Void Rivals lived on, and how it is exactly tied into the Transformers lore.
Oh, very cool.
It was a big expository dump, but it was a really good one, and I felt very satisfied by it. So
all right.
I'm still really enjoying this series.
This Void Rivals satiated Nick.
Yes, it's satiated.
As Nick mentioned earlier, the X-Men Volume 1 trade is out this week. Fishflies, the hardcover that collects the entire Jeff Lemire. Weird.
This is a weird but interesting comic about a town in the middle of it's kind of like their seasonal mosquito die-off.
Where he lived or something?
Yeah, these Canadian bugs that are die by the thousands and litter the parking lots of convenience stores.
Over a few weeks.
Yeah, for a few weeks. Or there's that going on. And amidst this, in this small town, which is, he loves writing about small towns, is a bank robbery. A suspect that one of the robbers gets shot. And while he's seemingly dying in somebody's barn, he transforms into an insect.
He mutates.
It happens.
Which becomes the weird sort of friend of the girl who lives in the house nearby, who keeps his presence there a secret. It's kind of a weird, dark. I don't know. Like the cover makes it look like it's some Iron Giant thing where he's like her best friend or whatever, and they're running through the fields.
There's some tragic elements.
But yes, there's a lot more tragic stuff in the comic. It is weird, and I don't know quite how to describe something like that. But it was also really good.
But I will say, if you've ever read a Jeff Lemire book, you kind of know his vibe, and you know whether or not you're gonna. This is for you.
And it's also like drawn by him, which is its own bonus. So there we go.
Yeah. Also worth noting, we got last week we got the Elfquest Original Quest Book 1 hardcover, which is putting Elfquest back in color in a series of hardcovers.
Yes, nice to see that back in print. I read through most of it when it came back in, since that's one of my favorites, and that was my pick as well. Definitely recommended for anybody who wants to see kind of the origin of some of the, basically the first really breakout iconic fantasy and epic fantasy in comics.
Yep. And then the last thing I want to mention is a book we got last week called Medieval Cats.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a little kind of novelty book of art, ancient medieval manuscript art that has, you've seen the memes, weird looking little cats that look like somewhere between a little demon and modern weird cat cartoons. And I don't know the exact format of this, if there's humorous little write-ups about them, but it is a good collection for the weird cat lover in your life.
Yes.
Sure. Or medieval art lover.
Let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about a trailer and some news, and then a whole bunch of stuff we were going to talk about last week. Just a couple bits of news to hit before we go to all our various topics. We got a trailer for something called Lazarus that's going to be on Adult Swim and then on Max starting in April.
It's probably going to be kind of big, right? It's from the Cowboy Bebop.
I'd never heard of this, and then I saw the trailer, and it's Shinichiro Watanabe, who did Cowboy Bebop.
And what else? Samurai Champloo, I think some other stuff too.
And something else after that I don't think anything's been as big as Bebop for him.
Did the Blade Runner Black Lotus thing?
Did he?
I thought he did.
I don't know.
But
at any rate, this looks up my alley. It looks like what's the thing that was a video game that was Cliffhanger?
Yeah, that was the game was Cliffhanger, but Lupin the Third.
Lupin the Third. This reminds me of Lupin the Third. They're kind of these renegades who are they're trying. The central thing is
it's a near future.
It seems to be near future. A dude. This guy creates a revolutionary painkiller, and then reveals 3 years later that it will mutate and it's going to kill everyone who took it if they don't find him.
Yep.
Or
maybe is that actually
that's what he says. He says if you don't find me, he's like, you have 30 days to find me.
Oh, weird. So he's actually doing some kind of weird game of cat and mouse.
Yes. And then the team, who call themselves the Lazarus,
yep.
They decide that they're almost like superheroes because they're going to go track him down, and they're a bunch of renegades with guns and shit.
You know what they seem like? They seem like the kids from the movie Hackers, but a little bit more punchy and shooty.
Yeah, lot more shooty. There's an assault rifle in there.
Yeah, that's true. But it looks like it's got a kind of a mixture of action and comedy, good animation. Looks fun.
It looks like fun to me.
It looks like the same kind of vibe as Cowboy Bebop with the team.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it is going to probably be Inspired Mayhem.
I don't watch a ton of anime, but I will probably give this a watch.
Yeah.
We also got big news on the BRZRKR, that's the Keanu Reeves comic that has been developing for a movie.
Yep.
That Justin Lin is going to direct.
Sure.
Now, he's primarily associated with Fast and Furious franchise.
Yep.
And he's directed some good ones. He's definitely done some good stuff. So he's probably a good fit for that.
I agree.
Now, I don't personally have any particular interest in it, but I don't.
Me neither, but
I don't not have.
It just ultimately feels that Keanu Reeves will join the Fast and Furious franchise at some point for the final one.
Yeah, for the last one. Yeah. So that's interesting news.
It's all about family one last time for the first time,
and then all of them got killed.
All right. I was going to talk about Dice Tower West, which I went to for the second year.
Yep.
This is a convention. Dice Tower is maybe the biggest YouTube board game channel. It's run by a guy named Tom Vassell, who wears a lot of hats.
Oh, sure.
He wears hats.
Okay.
Anyway, I met him randomly this time because he was wandering on the floor. We had a rules question, and he stopped by and explained a rule to us. It was kind of
cool.
funny. Yeah,
he knows all the rules.
he's played a lot of games. This is one of the new. They have what they call the hot games room, where they have all the games that are like either not out or just barely out.
Okay.
And so I played a bunch of those, and then I went to their game show where Tom Vassell and the other people on the show, they do questions that are sourced from the internet. The answers are sourced from the internet, and they have to guess like one of the top. I think it was like 10 or 15 things. Like one of the questions was, what are the top 15 games with the word "for" in it that are on on BGG?
Oh, okay.
And so the trick is on all these, they have to guess something in the top 10 or 15, but not the number one. If you guess the number one, the points go to the other team.
Oh.
That seems like that would be potentially doable because like the number one should be the obvious one.
Yeah,
right?
But they also they asked like what are the bottom 15 games, and they were all like Sorry and Monopoly, and like it was all. And so they figured that one out, and they asked a couple pop culture questions, the movie things, and it was a lot of fun. And they brought up someone from the audience to be on each team, so it was like there was a person from the audience. It was a lot of fun. It was a fun like opening night thing that they did.
Oh, that is neat.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I played a bunch of games. I played 15 different games, some of which I'd played before. And I won't run through all of them real quick. I want to mention the ones that I played that we have, or that I feel like people would want to try. The first thing I played was a game called Spooktacular, where you play as one of 20 movie monsters come to life. Mm-hmm. Each movie monster has their own little pad. There's different rules. You have different things you're trying to do. So there are 20 different ways to play this game.
Yeah.
But essentially there's a board, and there are meeples, and you are a monster come to life trying to both scare and then devour moviegoers.
This one sounded like a lot of fun. When you posted it,
it's a lot of fun. It has not come out yet, but we have it on order. And the theme is great. The art is really good. The 20 monsters means it's super replayable.
Yeah.
Liked that one. Played a game called Bomb Busters. Again, not out yet. It is a cooperative deduction game with 66 scenarios, so you won't get tired of that one either.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Where you're like, you have these little cardboards that represent in front of you that represent wires to a bomb, and they're numbered, like, they start out numbered 1 through 8, and then later on they go up and they add yellow and red and that kind of thing. So you have like I think you have 6 of them in front of you, and everybody else has 6 in front of them, and you guess, like, you start out the round by telling them what number you have, so everybody can see one number, and the way you diffuse wires is by pulling out pairs.
So is this like a cooperative?
It's a cooperative dom disposal game.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun, and it was very challenging and very enjoyable. I played with some people I didn't know.
I have a question. Is there a timer involved?
There is not, but there is a little rotating spinny board thing.
Okay.
Every time you get a guess wrong, you spin the board, and if you spin up too high, the bomb goes off. Oh. So you only get a certain number of guesses.
Okay, I do kind of like that. The timer always kind of adds that level of I don't like.
Yeah, it's not real time.
Because wasn't there like a game called Fuse or something?
Yes,
that had,
it is not. It is not a real time game.
Okay.
It is a you get a certain number of guesses time.
This sounds like
it was
really
a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and like I say, they add rules as it goes on to get more complicated once you've got the basics. So it's like it feels very replayable, or like a lot of playtime.
Okay.
And also weirdly, a game you could play at like a party, I think. Huh? Civolution, which has been a popular game we've had, where you're building civilizations. It is a big, complicated game. Like if you like Terraforming Mars, games like that. This is a little more complicated than that.
Oh wow!
It's a long game, but if you like that kind of game, really fun.
If you win at those kind of complex games, you are the Lord of Games.
You can play war games against the computer.
Yes.
There's a game called Buffet Boss that's coming out soon, where it is a dexterity game where you have a little boat that represents your buffet plate.
Uh-huh.
And then a little meeples of various fruits and veggies and fish and all that, shaped like those.
Okay.
And you have to stack them all together without them falling over. And you have cards, so you get points if you get like, I had the vegan, so if I got a comp for every fruit and vegetable I had, I got points.
Okay.
And you have to stack them, and the person with the highest stack gets a bonus.
Not falling over.
That sounds ridiculous but fun.
It's very Jenga-y.
Yeah.
But with like weird shaped pieces. A little small game. It looked like a fun game to have. I played Metro Runner, which is a cyberpunk game for the people that made Role Player.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I quite enjoyed. We've got that one in stock. The central thing that's interesting, there's a hacking mechanic, and the way you hack is there's a 9-grid puzzle that is one of those like slidey puzzles.
Yeah.
And so you have to, the little hacker cards come up where you have to go from one side to the other, and you have like 2 moves to change the board to fit that line. So it's like finding computer paths.
Oh.
So it's a very clever mechanic to do hacking.
Sounds neat.
There's also like you're doing like cyberpunk jobs. You get points for that kind of thing too. Played Daitoshi, which is another game we have.
Yeah,
that is big. You basically it's Japan. You are trying to industrialize Japan and do such in a way that does not anger the yokai. The yokai sort of represent environmental like damage that you're doing, and so you have to like offset them with carbon credits, which is essentially you send monks out to talk to the yokai. It's got a lot of
Traditional
fiddly
way
bits.
of alleviating environmental distress.
Yeah. But it's a fun game.
I like it.
It's a little heavier game, but I would sort of.
Can you launch the monks?
No, they walk, Nick. They walk. I played Let's Go to Japan, which I played at BGG.
Yeah, that one's
It's a super fun card game.
Yeah.
I really like that one. I played a game that is on our clearance table right now.
Oh.
By Uwe Rosenberg, creator of games.
Agricola.
A million games.
Caverna.
Yep, Agricola Caverna.
Patchwork.
Ottawa is set in Africa. It's a tableau builder, so you're buying like tiles.
Okay.
And you are trying to cultivate fruit bats. And the way you do this is you train the villagers to stop killing the fruit bats by and then they let the fruit bats in their home, and you have more space on your board to put fruit bats in.
So this is a game of fruit bats.
It's a game about fruit bats.
That's an interesting. I guess you wrote.
Trying to like judge any game based on its theme is fruitless. But yeah, like I feel like I always wonder: did he start thinking about this idea based on based on that thematic?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or did he come up with this weird sort of mathematical sort of thing about how it all worked together and how
then
the
came
rules
up with
work?
Afterwards?
And then he's like, I was watching a documentary about fruit bats.
It's got like so. It's interesting because it is based on the idea of them teaching you're teaching people to live in harmony with it's ecological.
Yeah, sure.
So. But you have this board with resources that has on
woke.
it. The resources on it are like there's like beasts and goats and fruit and trees, and as you take them off and put them on your board, it reveals things that give you other things. So like when you put down the beasts to feed your villagers, you get more trees, and when you get more trees, you get more bats. And then you get more fruit to feed the bats.
I don't know if I've seen games before in which you kind of like acquire a resource and it comes with sort of bonus resources.
Yeah, I've definitely seen this in other games before.
It sounds fulfilling.
It's really fun. I really enjoyed this one. And like I say, it's on our clearance rack. It's half price.
Yeah.
Just question his fruit bat. I want to know where it came from.
I think Dave nailed it. I think he was probably building a game and he saw a documentary and he's like, oh, this would fit with this theme.
Yep. I'm going to look into it, though. I'm sure there's an interviewer out there where he's asked about it.
I played a game called Tabriz, which we will be getting soon. I've got that in order, which is a game that you make carpets. It's another resource builder. You go to various markets. You send your apprentices out to get different fabrics like cotton, silk, and I forget what the other one is, and then dyes, like red, green dye. And these are all represented by different cubes. Oh, camel hair is the other fabric.
Sure.
And they're increasingly difficult to find, and you have to pay money for them, and they're increasingly more expensive. But you have space on the board where you can convert. Like, if you have a bunch of cotton, you can convert it into silk. And you are trying to build, like, recipes on cards using these things. Once you build a recipe, you slide it under your board, and it gives you a resource. So you're sort of building things that give you more resources as you go on. And you build until someone has 9 cards, or until all the resources are gone. It was really fun, a good little resource builder. I would say it's less complicated than Terraforming Mars, way less complicated like Civolution or Daitoshi.
Okay.
But a slightly more complicated resource management, meeple placement game. Really enjoyed it. Fun theme, really, really nice looking game. Has a dice mechanic. There's a push your luck dice mechanic on. You went to 2 places where you could go to deal makers and get cheaper fabric by rolling dice. But if you go too far and like go over your budget, you can't buy anything.
Oh.
So there's a push your luck mechanic to it as well. I had a great time with this, and also my friends were making fun of me because I was like, I don't really gamble, and they watched me go to the push your luck thing over and over again, and they're like, yeah, you don't gamble.
Well, there's a reason Randy doesn't gamble.
There's a reason I don't gamble. I'm bad at push your luck. That was all the new games I played. I played several games I've played before.
I know you played Harmonies. And
yeah,
stuff
I played
like
Harmonies again. I played Cat in a Box, Fox Experiment.
Yeah.
First new game to me, Century Golem, which I liked. But yeah, really fun. Got some new games to recommend. And, I've been thinking about making a list of, like, games I recommend. So I've got a lot like that, sort of like making a selection of
that would benefit,
games.
I think, us. Because
I think it would be useful.
I don't play as many games, so it might be nice to have some that I can just recommend.
Yep. I may create that as a tag in our new system and then make a
he's doing a tag.
Okay.
Yeah. We love tags.
I like
One person at this table loves tags.
It's handy for organization.
I know.
All right.
Resistant to tags.
Let's talk about Daredevil Born Again, because people are going to want to hear our thoughts. Dave, your thoughts on Daredevil Born Again?
Not watching.
There we go. Nick?
I watched the first 30 minutes and I was sad.
All right, I watched the first 2 episodes.
Can we go ahead and do the spoiler warning, which I think is coming?
Spoiler warning for Daredevil Born Again.
Because there's a big spoiler.
Yeah, there's definitely big spoilers.
There's a reason after the first 10 minutes, I messaged the staff and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
So is that reason because you're not edgelord enough, Nick, to appreciate the darkness?
I do not wear the mask of edgelord.
So I watched both episodes, and I'll continue to watch because I'm a mark for the MCU.
Yeah.
And, like, you have to get Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. bad before I stop watching. And even that, I was like, well, it's not in continuity, I have to watch it.
Yeah,
but
this is not, it is not that level.
No, it's solidly done. Like, if you love the Netflix Daredevil, this is a continuation of the Netflix Daredevil.
Yep.
If, like me, you soured on the Netflix Daredevil, and you were like, I really wanted the Daredevil we got in She-Hulk.
Right.
You're going to be real upset about this show. Yeah. If you like one of Daredevil's longest supporting characters, and we're excited to see that actor back playing him, and then you might get annoyed when they murder him in the first 10 minutes, you might not enjoy this show.
Let me throw out one quick question. How definitive was that character?
I have heard rumors it's a fake out.
I have too.
But the thing is, like, it doesn't look like a fake out.
But there's
but in the MCU,
there's apparently a comic in Daredevil that this happened, and like Matt does hear him die, so it kind of pushes.
Well, that happened in Mark Waid's run, but I thought that like he was in on it.
Yeah, who knows? So it's possible this is a fake out. If it is, you got me angry, but I might watch.
Not great. So the thing I'll say that's good about Daredevil Born Again, they are drawing from all the eras of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Like, Mark Waid's run is definitely rough. They brought Kirsten McDuffie in.
Yep, they did.
She is Matt's lawyer partner.
Yeah, basically this Foggy gets murdered by Bullseye.
And Bullseye is a character from season 3 of Daredevil, I guess.
Yes, he was.
He was Dark Daredevil or something.
I never watched it, but I knew that was existing, so it wasn't a shock.
This is his first appearance as Bullseye.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was...
He was just Dark Daredevil.
I thought he was called Bullseye.
They never quite made him Bullseye.
Okay. They called him Dark Daredevil?
No, he was like... Somebody... They hired him to look at... He wore the Daredevil costume.
Jeff Loeb thought that was a really good idea. He was like, Dark Daredevil. That's such a cool idea.
He's Dark Devil.
No, but he was like paid off to like, ruin his reputation?
Ruin his reputation, that kind of thing. But anyway... I
remember when somebody was Dark Dave and was paid to ruin my reputation.
But that didn't work because we were like, Dave's reputation is already ruined.
He doesn't have a reputation.
Yeah.
But then it jumps a year, and Matt and Chris McDuffie are running a law firm together.
Yeah. The opening, while I didn't love the darkness of it all, I do think seeing Daredevil and Bullseye throw down, like it was done well. Like Bullseye kept throwing knives at him, and they kept sticking in him.
It was handled in a more kind of like. Not quite Born Identity level. It is like tiring to watch.
Yeah.
Because they're like going up staircase. It is one of those kind of Daredevil signature one track.
Yeah, you remember everybody loved that hallway fight?
Yeah.
This I think was on that level.
Yeah.
Like they opened with a fight on that level. Like good for them.
Okay, this has intrigued me enough to watch the opening. Now
you want to watch Foggy die? What's wrong with you, Dave?
The whole time during this fight you're listening to Foggy's heartbeat slow and slow.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought you were about to say some soundtrack thing, like you're...
No, because Matt
listening
is like...
to Fatboy Slim or something like that.
Because Matt is hearing everybody kind of like... They were at like a retirement party for a cop.
For a cop, yeah.
He was like
bar.
friends with them at Maggie's.
And then Bullseye shoots Foggy in the heart.
Yep.
From a sniper position. And then he rolls up on them to attack.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was designed... There's one thing that makes me think it might be a fake out. It definitely seems designed to make Daredevil angry.
Yeah.
Like, it's designed to do this. And then, a year later, Wilson Fisk has
decided to run for mayor.
Has successfully run for mayor, right? Or no, he's running.
He's running.
He's running.
Yeah. I think his wife Vanessa.
Was running the crime. And they're not getting along very well.
Right.
And Daredevil, because Kirsten sets him up with someone, Daredevil starts dating this psychologist named Heather Glenn.
Oh,
it's a deep cut.
I remember her from the 80s.
Yeah. She's not Frank Miller. She's not D.G. Chichester.
She was Frank Miller.
Is she Frank Miller's
era? Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if he invented her. The person who did Frank co-write with before he took over the book?
I don't remember the guy's name.
Was it Denny O'Neil?
Maybe. It might have been Denny O'Neil.
I think it might have been, or Len Wein, or somebody like that.
Anyway, so she is like his love. She is in name only. She's nothing like the Heather Glenn that we saw.
Yeah.
But she is an interesting character, and she is his love interest. And she's a psychologist and a counselor. So by the end of episode 2, you find out she's counseling Kingpin and his wife.
Yep.
We also know that Muse is going to be involved. That's the bad guy from Charles Soule's run.
Okay. So this was one of my general questions, and I don't know if they've been enough episodes in to show it yet, but is there any sense of the MCU?
Kingpin mentions Spider-Man.
Oh, interesting.
Now, if they had Spider-Man guest star in these first 2 episodes, I would have forgiven everything.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that they could get there.
That would be one of the best guest stars of all time.
It would be.
It would be cool.
And I'm hoping, we know Punisher's going to show up.
Yep.
I'm hoping that all these rumors about Luke Cage and some of these guys, that maybe they've got them in there somewhere.
She was created by Marv Wolfman.
Yeah.
And William Robert Brown.
So once they get going, and you see Kingpin trying to transition from thug, organized crime guy to mafia boss to, like, mayor.
Yeah.
I thought some of that was interesting. Vincent D'Onofrio plays a great Kingpin.
I mean, you can just say Vincent D'Onofrio is great.
Yeah,
in all things.
He is great in this, and his version of Kingpin I really like. And I really like the casting, like the guy who plays Daredevil. I forget what's Charlie Cox. He is great as Daredevil, but the story they're telling is not the one I wanted them to tell.
Right.
And I think that's maybe the biggest problem.
I think She-Hulk showed this side of kind of like Daredevil adventurer.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a novel take, but every writer who has ever written Daredevil wants to do the darkest story possible.
Yeah.
So I don't think Daredevil can escape that.
Here's the thing. A lot of the fans want that too. Like, that's all they want.
I would say it's like 90%, if not more. I was talking to a customer the other day, and I was saying that it just didn't seem like the kind of Daredevil I wanted. And he was saying, he's like, well, you don't want like a misstep like in She-Hulk, and I was like, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah, that character.
And this person didn't know about. I was like, admittedly, since the 80s, just like only like maybe 2 decades into the character's lifespan, basically it changed forever into a noir comic, kind of a gritty noir comic.
Frank Miller, Frank Miller, just like with Dark Knight Returns. And with Alan Moore and Watchmen, he set a pattern that nobody else should probably try to follow.
Yeah, neither of them, I think, wanted to be duplicated.
No.
They both wanted people to just do their own thing.
But Bendis walked in that same pathway.
A lot of the great ones have.
Right.
Brubaker, all of them. So and Kevin Smith, who I wouldn't consider great, but he had
solid run.
He had a voice. Yeah. Now, here's my question. Has anybody up until Mark Waid done the swashbuckler Daredevil?
Not really. There was a little bit of that in Chichester's run, but it's always been...
I was just wondering, because I was like, for most fans, it would be understandable that they really only know that. Like, Daredevil to them...
dark.
Was it dark?
And Nascenti's vibe was dark and psychological and supernatural,
I couldn't remember.
Who do we...
And Nascenti.
Oh, yeah. She did the sort of weird existential stuff.
I get why this is the way they do it. I understand, but I'm annoyed by it because
they had set up the other, and if they had done it right, they actually could have. Well, Mark Waid's run managed to have the swashbuckler thing without completely abandoning the darkness.
You can have your cake and eat it too, and they don't seem interested in having that.
They even straight up had in the early issues of it that bit where Foggy's like, Matt, why are you acting kind of like all cavalier and like this? And he's like, I'm processing a lot of shit, Foggy. He's like, this is just how I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
And I think that would be kind of interesting and almost fun and unnerving to see him being kind of like, kiss the girl that he just saved and all that stuff, and act like he's having
the
fun.
Wedding, he was
and for that to be almost to throw them off their game.
But at the same time, not even just Mark Waid's, but we saw Daredevil in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and that was a different take on Daredevil.
So good.
And I just want Charlie Cox can play. We've now seen him play him as the more devil-may-care Daredevil, and it was way more fun. And I wanted to see that Daredevil side, and we're not seeing it.
We're seeing sad
they decided
People
instead
want fun, they want bones breaking.
They want bones breaking, and maybe this is what the fans want. It seems like it. I don't want it.
But I will say this: the level of craft is there.
It's really good.
It doesn't feel. It feels a step above what Netflix did.
Agreed. He wears a costume from the first minute, and then never again.
We haven't seen.
How many episodes are y'all?
Two.
Okay,
There's been 2. There's going to be another one tonight.
I believe so.
This is going to be one of the longer MCU.
It's 18 episodes.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I definitely think we'll maybe see a wide range of things.
That's enough time to show a lot of stuff if you want to.
It is. Yeah.
But I'm going to have to wait a couple of episodes just to hear kind of like if there's a change or if there's something more. I love John Bernthal, so I kind of want to see him as a different take on his Punisher.
Let me ask this of y'all real quick. Is there any slightly obscure Daredevil villain or just unused to this point Daredevil villain that you'd like to see? Or hero?
I don't know.
Obviously, it'd be cool to see Spider-Man.
The thing is, they used a lot of...
Throw him against Full Killer.
Full Killer. Has the Owl shown in any capacity yet?
No,
I don't think he has.
Owl should be such
would be a good one.
easy one to do.
They used Gladiator, right? Didn't they do Gladiator or not?
Oh, they did, like, his costume maker.
He's a costume.
Yeah, he did
Melvin.
kind of Melvin.
They did a Netflix
Potter
dumb
did.
version of it.
By the way,
Yes.
now the Owl, by the way, I don't think would be easy to do. I do think that, like, you can give him a unique look and all that stuff, but, like, him flying around is very MCU.
If he doesn't hoot, I'm not in.
And
But I mean, if
I
you
feel like
could save that and do kind of like this big splash of it, but
Yeah.
Leland Owsley in kind of his like weird kind of trench coat with crazy hair.
well,
Yeah.
he's also got that, but he's also got these like spiked things that he wears that are like mini Wolverine claws.
Yep.
And he kind of looks like a little Jack the Ripper-y.
You could definitely do a darker version of
I want the
the
MCU
Owl.
to be
Him as a rival with Kingpin would
yeah.
be cool.
I want the MCU to be less serious and kind of take hold of their craziness.
Yeah.
Like I want supervillains.
Yeah. Oh, great.
We don't get many we get
also,
the big guys.
I think the biggest thing is, like, Daredevil and Spider-Man in the comics are such a good team. Like, I love seeing the two of them team up, especially against Kingpin.
Oh, yeah.
And they should do that.
That would be the coolest reveal if they got to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
By the way, you said supervillains. That Bullseye is a supervillain.
But I'm talking about like
Not like real
the run of the
supervillains?
mill guys, not the
Dave, he was not a supervillain in this. He was a dude in a black suit.
Yeah, he was an assassin, Dave.
Yeah, he was an
Lame.
assassin. Yeah, it was not cool.
All right,
Bullseye.
Wrecking Crew it is.
I want the Wrecking Crew. I want Full Killer. God, why am I blanking on people's
I don't know.
names?
I mean, honestly, have we?
Stiltman or nothing.
Yeah, Stiltman is who I was thinking of. I'm like, give me Stiltman.
I'd like to see more ninjas, honestly. Like, even though they screwed that up with the Defenders in the previous volumes, like, give me ninjas. At least that's something a little larger than life.
You want
Yeah.
the hand?
I want the hand.
Yeah, I mean,
Give the man a hand.
Give the man a hand.
Bring
Anyway.
Stick back.
I didn't hate it, but I definitely, this was what when we saw those trailers, this is what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I was afraid
It
of.
is 100% those.
And
those trailers.
the other thing I was afraid
Promised.
of is that people were going to eat it up, and they're going to be like, oh, this is what the MCU should do. And that's exactly what happened. All the reviews were like, best thing MCU's done in forever. And I'm like, all of you need to just shut the hell up. I do not want to go back to Netflix.
Edgelord.
I think we're going to get the polar opposite with Fantastic Four, so I'm not 100%
I hope so.
worried. But
the people who are griping about the new Cap movie and it seemed to be taking, and people who I know who are like big comic book fans who just seem to be taking as written that like, the MCU is no good no more. And I'm like, can you all recognize that you're just jaded by what's happened? Like we've had like 15 years of MCU movies at this point. Like, yes, I will admit Captain America was the weakest of the Cap movies. Like that, but it was still a solid movie.
Yeah.
And yes, I think there may be issues with reshoots and all that, but like
sometimes a movie doesn't have to be more than a good time.
yeah, I think people want everything to be Endgame now, and that's just not going to happen.
Ready? Reed Richards is gonna kill Doctor Doom. He's gonna he's gonna fill his nostrils and stuff with his himself.
And they're like, I've always wanted him to be so edgy.
No, they did that with who was the last guy who directed FX?
Oh yeah,
Trank or
Josh
whatever.
Josh
Trank,
Trank.
yeah.
God. Ugh.
Yep.
Tom
That guy's
Cruise.
probably like Secretary of State right now, right?
Yeah, he was a big super creeper, right? So,
yeah. All right, let's talk about the other one of their shows. I know, Nick, you and I are watching, which is Reacher,
Yes.
which is on Prime, third season, right?
Reacher. I
Yes,
hardly know her.
this is the third season. I think this is based on one of the later books called
Yeah.
Persuader.
Yeah.
I remember reading this and I liked it quite a bit. I think this is a banger opener.
Yeah.
Basically,
he rescues some kid from being kidnapped. Some 20-something, right?
And kills a couple of cops.
Yeah.
And has to go and work for this dad's criminal organization boss.
Which is, the boss is Anthony Michael Hall.
I know. And that I was like, oh, I love that.
Yeah, he's playing a crime boss. He's like in his 50s now. And it makes sense. Yeah. And then the reveal at the end, which by the way, I knew it was coming. I'm like, there's no way. And
but it was really well done.
It was well done. The reveal is that he's in with the cops, and it's all a fake out to get him in this organization.
And the cops are looking for a woman who disappeared, who was in that organization, and they're broke. Yeah, they're kind of working.
They're not cops. They're like FBI or something.
Yeah, and they're working outside of the line a little bit. And Reacher is there for other reasons because he's someone involved. He's got an old villain. It is brutal and cathartic.
Yep.
And,
I'm enjoying it. Also, the guy, Anthony Michael has a bodyguard guy who's like bigger than Reacher.
He's bigger than Alan Ritchson, and I was like, this is like the Mountain.
It is the Mountain. I think it's that guy.
Is it? It very much.
I think it is. I think it is the guy who played the Mountain.
It is. He is imposing, and I think Reacher is imposing. Yeah. So it is funny to watch that kind of go forth. I just like Alan Ritchson's vibe. He is like a take no shit.
Yeah, well, he's also like a decent dude in real life.
He's very.
And I really appreciate that. A lot of people aren't.
Yes, but I think this is better than the second season so far. It feels a little more focused. Where the second season, where it dealt with kind of his like platoon the special investigations unit that he worked with, felt a little kind of all over the place. This one has a more focus and kind of a driving story that I'm enjoying more.
Yeah, same. I like this one quite a bit.
Because Reacher works best when he is by himself. That's what kind of catapulted him.
You don't want Team Reacher?
I liked the team last year, and I miss Neely. I miss Neely being in this.
Well, yeah,
Randy, you're a team guy.
I'm a team guy.
And Neely's getting her own...
She's getting her own series, I get it.
So, but I can guarantee you we'll see more of Neely in this season.
She gets a cameo, essentially.
Yeah, she does.
Did you also want to talk about the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary thing?
I did, because Saturday Night Live right now kind of sucks.
Nick, let me tell you. Saturday Night Live sucking is its tradition.
It is, but this special was a giant spotlight reminder that it could be that it was good. And it's like rose-tinted glasses because I watched Saturday Night Live growing up.
You definitely saw some dog shit episodes.
I did, but my era was like the Dana Carvey and the Mike Myers, the Church Ladies, the Wayne's World. It was,
I think, probably generally considered one of the boom times. It also had, Adam Sandler and stuff like that.
It was time, but I watched prior to that, too. The opening monologue in the special was by Steve Martin. And it was really, really funny.
So what is this, was this a best of clips?
It was kind of, it wasn't best of clips. Everyone came back and did kind of reprised roles, did new things.
New sketches and stuff.
Andy Samberg, who I didn't like at the time, but I've really gravitated towards later in life. He came back and did one of his music videos that he did. That was hilarious. There was just so many sketches that I was dying laughing, and I'm like, I haven't laughed this hard at any. Will Ferrell came back. Yeah. He did an amazing skit with a bunch of other people. Kristen Wiig came back in a hilarity, musical thing. Tina Fey, of course. They did a Weekend Update that Bill Murray hosted because he was the Weekend Update in the 70s. Ranking the Weekend Update hosts.
Oh, that's funny.
Of course, Colin Jost was nowhere on that list. And Colin was sitting there like, what the hell?
Is this the thing I saw where they did do some flashback clips and things like that, or was that a separate special?
I think that was a separate special.
Okay, just check.
This was just all new stuff. Yeah, this one had the Miley Cyrus...
Paul McCartney? Or was that the other one as well?
Paul McCartney opened it. Okay. And then there was a Miley Cyrus... version of, I can't remember, but then
it was something good, right?
It was something really, really good. I can't remember what she covered a song that hadn't been covered. It was the Sinead O'Connor song.
Oh,
the one
Nothing Compares to You.
Yeah, Nothing Compares to You. Yeah, and it was an amazing. I mean, Miley Cyrus is an amazing.
She actually has great vocals.
Her voice is just sensational. And then the cast was everybody in there was somebody. Steven Spielberg was there, Kate Capshaw, the Robert De Niro was there. He joined in on a skit, and I thought he was deadpan funny.
Okay.
It was like everybody was at their best, like remembering, until the very end when you see Lorne Michaels look like the saddest person in the room.
You're talking about like when they're doing the outro?
The outro and everybody's kind of like clapping.
When they gather on the stage. Yeah, I happen to have seen that, and it looked weird to me.
He looked like he was about to just like cry.
Yeah.
Not in a good way. I'm talking about like just
people
kind
like coming up and patting him on the back and like, congrats, Lorne, kind of thing.
And he just is like pissed off, sad.
I had that feeling that I'm like that there's a story behind it. Like,
I'm sure
the wrangling of all of this had him like so exhausted that he was like on the verge of just collapse or something.
I can't imagine. They made a joke somewhere in the night to get every good actor and actress in the same room. Something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
But it was a reminder that Saturday Night Live had great moments.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth your time. It's a long special. It was like 2.5 hours.
That's what I've heard.
It's worth watching.
Okay.
I really dug it.
I want to talk about Laid. Would you recommend it to me?
Yep.
On Peacock. Did you talk about this in the podcast?
I briefly talked about it because Stephanie Hsu is hilarious.
Stephanie Hsu is the lead. It is it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy.
Yep. It's a remake of an Australian show.
That tracks. It's a weird premise.
It is.
Basically, she's a wedding planner, an event planner.
Yes.
She is kind of she's probably in her 30s and is kind of listless and like directionless in life.
Self-centered.
Yes, a very self-centered, kind of a bad person. And she starts finding out that all of the people she slept with are dying. And not like of like some strange disease, something like one of them gets hit by a car in front of her.
Yep.
And it's almost like it's a curse.
Yep.
And you think like, okay, well this is just like weird coincidence. But no, it really starts to seem like it is a curse. And her roommate, who's obsessed with murder podcasts, helps her makes a murder board, helps her they're trying to track down people and warn them, hey, you slept with me, you're gonna die.
Yep.
Meanwhile, there's this whole romantic subplot going with her and this other guy.
Yep.
And there's a story going on about her roommate and her shit of a boyfriend.
Yes. He is awful.
He's awful. And it's very funny, very weird. And I liked it quite a bit. I enjoyed it. I binged through it a couple of days.
It's one of those. The episodes are like 26 minutes.
Yeah.
You could burn through them quick.
And I did. I went through it pretty quick. I think it's worth people's time. The only thing I'll say, they did the thing I hate where they wrapped it, instead they seem to have given us an explanation for what happened.
Yep.
They wrapped it up, and then, oh no, that wasn't the explanation, and here's another character, and cliffhanger. And I'm like, you don't know at this point you're getting a season 2.
Yeah, it still has not
been
greenlit.
No, but especially on streaming shows on Peacock, like you could be almost guaranteed you won't get a season 2. Don't do that to your audience.
It was a little shitty. I was really hopeful they had already gotten greenlit for season 2.
Yeah.
And we would have gotten resolution.
We're never going to get the end of the series.
Probably not.
And that is that's a thing that it's like finding dirt in your ice cream and you get to the bottom of it. It's like ruined the whole thing.
I don't know
I suppose that's where I landed with Manhunter, but at least Manhunter's 2 seasons were fairly standalone-ish.
It's just, here's the lesson that I wish people would learn, the showrunners would learn. Treat each season like it might be your last. Because it probably is.
Right.
In this
especially on like, I mean, if you're on Netflix, you might know you're going to get 2 seasons. But don't plan for that third. And also, even then, you don't know what might happen. Your executive, your creative person might turn out to be a terrible person. You might have to not do the second season after all.
It's true.
Not that that's ever happened.
No.
But anyway, Laid, it would get an unqualified recommendation as a really funny show, but the ending pissed me off.
I still think there was a lot of good in that show.
Yeah.
And you could turn it off with 5 minutes to go, and you'll be like,
"You're good. You got an ending.
You got a great ending.
Yeah. Don't finish it out."
If they do
it's literally like the last 5 minutes.
If they do a season 2, they'll recap that 5 minutes.
They'll recap it. Don't worry about it. That's what they should have done. They should have given us the ending, and if they get a season 2, then you start with that.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
Don't be arrogant.
They didn't have Randy to advise.
Did you real quick want to talk about Harley Quinn? Have you been catching up?
I have, I'm going to really quick. I had given up on this show a little bit after season 3. Not that it was bad. I just had fallen out of the mood of the insanity that the show was. I recently needed insanity in my life, so I decided to jump back in. It's been a fun ride. I forget how much I like Lake Bell as Poison Ivy.
Yep.
I just like Lake Bell regardless. But her chemistry with Kaylee Kukoa doing Harley is fantastic. Side characters are great. Seeing Harley try to grapple with the idea of becoming part of the Bat family was a fun notion that they explored in a season. Them just coming to grips with who they are as people and as a couple. I thought the Valentine's Day special was one of the funniest things I've seen in quite some time. And this season they're doing a Brainiac and Metropolis story.
That's so weird.
And it's these things, they can do these giant, like, weird things that you would never get in the comics. Batman going to prison, sure. For tax evasion. You know, whatever.
Is that a thing that happened?
It was Alfred going...
I assume it was it Bruce Wayne for tax evasion?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Alfred going evil.
Yes, that was kind of fun.
Dick Grayson getting murdered. You know,
Yes.
these things...
Did that actually happen?
Harley
Yes.
murdered him in her while sleepwalking.
Okay. Does he get unmurdered?
He does get unmurdered, as you might expect.
I was like,
might
even for a
happen.
goofy show, it'd be a little weird if Harley had just killed one of the Robins.
I mean, she grapples with it. She's also grappling with a evil clone that was made during the season as well, that she hoped had killed Dick Grayson, but no, that didn't actually happen. But Dick Grayson came back after the use of a Lazarus pit.
Okay.
This show is unmitigated chaos, and I'm all for it. I highly recommend it if you want some insanity, and also...
What is it stream on?
It's HBO Max. I will also say a weirdly good romance between the two characters. It's really done well.
I actually catch a little clip or something like that, and it's pretty good.
It's crazy that it's very rare we get to see two main lead characters in a relationship on a show that actually works without like the devolving into they did something, I will break up or some bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
It's very rare that happens, and I think this is a very loving relationship, and I just think that's great.
Yep.
Ivy not too bothered when Harley accidentally kills
No, not at all.
because she's dealing with Lex Luthor and running the Legion of Doom. And her own problems with all the people under her. And then you get Bane becoming...
That's realistic. We've all been there.
The one side character that I think gets the best spotlights is Bane. Because he's amazing. He gets to become the ultimate pasta maker. He goes to Italy for a while.
Nice.
So yes, it's dumb stuff.
That was a fun runner.
It was. Bane...
My biggest gripe about Harley Quinn later seasons is not enough King Shark, not enough Bane. Because I like both those characters.
King Shark gets sidelined by like all the stuff in his his world. So I do miss that. But Alan Tudyk is Clayface.
Alan Tudyk's Clayface is great.
When Clayface gets separated and he falls in love with himself. It was pretty amazing.
The show's wild.
It is.
I need to catch up on it. Last thing, Nick, you were going to mention Zero Day.
Oh, right. This is a Netflix limited series. It was 6 episodes.
Oh, okay.
It was Robert De Niro as a ex-president who gets basically called back into service by current president, played by Angela Bassett, when a terrorist ring basically basically cyber attacks the U.S. and every system goes down.
Okay.
For 1 minute. And thousands of people die, chaos, and a new commission is formed called the Zero Day Commission that has kind of like unmitigated access, and it goes into some dark places.
From the trailers, I thought this was about like a January 6th style attack. It is about a cyber attack?
It is a cyber attack.
Okay.
And this is basically, it's Robert De Niro and fake Matt Damon. Why can't I not think of his name? From Friday Night Lights. Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons and a whole...
fake Philip Seymour Hoffman.
And weirdly, not weirdly, Matthew Modine plays a person here. You can kind of guess where... As Matthew Modine is great at playing a villain. But I definitely think this has its issues. Mm-hmm. But being such a limited series and kind of the production value and... the performances that they're able to get out of some of the characters and a lot of the character actors that you will recognize that do small roles.
Okay.
I think it is worth watching. There's some rabbit holes that it goes down that I like. Mind
Is it
control
a
and weird
suspense story?
Stuff. Yeah, it's a suspense.
Okay.
And it's talking about some political things going on right now that, it may or may not come into play.
Yep.
I don't think it was a unmitigated success, but it definitely had things I really enjoyed. And I was happy to see De Niro, because I think this is the first time De Niro's done things for television that I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I know this is a limited series that is not quite television, but...
He was also on a few episodes of Full House.
Yeah. He played Michelle, actually. It was a weird one. He played the little girl.
But
Uncle Jesse, you're gonna pay up. I'm gonna bust you in the fucking face.
And I'm not the biggest De Niro.
Wow.
I'm not the biggest De Niro fan, but he does a good job as playing kind of a person grappling with grief and power.
Okay.
And he does it well. So
What's it called?
0 Day.
0 Day.
Yeah. All right. I think that wraps it up for us this time.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with more, probably. And until that time, yo, Joe. Roguecast is a weekly podcast broadcast from Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas. You can find us online on Facebook and at www.roguesgallerytx.com and email us comments or questions at roguesgallerytx@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.